And we're live. Okay. So hello, my lovelies. I do hope you're well. I've got with me two special people today, special guests. We've got Tofu Tommy. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got Lee Downing Keat, who
Hello.
we've not seen on this channel before. Just a quick one, Lee, because people haven't seen you on this channel.
Yeah.
What do you do? Who are you?
My name's Lee. I'm from Cornwall. I've been vegan for nearly 2 years, and I'm a qualified personal trainer, and I've got a vegan fitness channel named Lee Downing Keat. So yeah.
So I've got his link below in the description, and Tofu Tommy's if you're not subscribed already. We all know Tofu Tommy on this channel. We've had you as a
Everyone
special
knows Tofu Tommy.
many a time.
Well, back for more of that content that we're so deficient in.
Oh no, that's catching on, isn't it? I can't let it go. So we got Chickpea Sani in the chat already. Hello, he's saying hi Tommy and hi Lee. And hello all of them. Hello. So right, today what we're going to talk about, hello Blue Morpho, is this new proposed definition of veganism. And I've been meaning to talk about it on this channel, and what inspired me to do so was that I saw that Tommy had shared it on Facebook, and I didn't actually realize that, because I'd heard about it through Ronnie Lee. Apparently at the vegan camp out, he did a talk about this new kind of definition of veganism. And it turns out that the vegan flag have actually proposed this new definition. So it's kind of more their thing. And I'm going to share this in the chat so everyone can see this new proposed definition. And I'll read it out. According to the vegan flag definition, veganism is a way of living that seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of animals, which extends beyond dietary considerations to the avoidance of all types of animal use or abuse, including harm to their natural habitats. It includes a moral duty to actively oppose animal exploitation by encouraging and educating others to become vegan, with the core aim being the eradication of speciesism. So this definition takes more of a if you should be active approach. So it goes beyond, just avoiding animal products where possible and practicable. And yeah, it employs the idea that we should all kind of be active in our message. Now, you shared this, Tommy. Can you say like what the kind of inspiration for sharing it was?
Yeah, well, basically, it was to get the dialogue obviously started, get in the community, obviously, because I do believe that you can obviously be vegan and obviously not be out there. Obviously, you don't need to be standing in front of a slaughterhouse. We all know that. But I think at the end of the day, we all know this is a social justice movement. It's all about morals and ethics, and that's what it all should come down to. But there is a lot of people out there, obviously, that have to go vegan, obviously, to save their life. We know that type 2 diabetes, cancers and such likes. But I always think that somewhere in your moral being, you should be doing it for the animals. And I always think that we should be doing as much as we possibly can. Obviously, there's a lot of limitations in that context. We do know that. Let's say physical health, mental health, obviously if you've got family life, but everybody can do something, at least I would say. That is what veganism is all about. It's not a diet, it's about the lifestyle, and it should always be about the animals. So I think technically it has got some context there, but there's an awful lot obviously we need to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So for you, Lee, what is your position when reading this definition? What thoughts does it spring up for you?
Well, for me, when I read it, I was kind of a bit torn, because I think it's important that everyone do as much as they can and try and be the best person they can be, and try and do as much as they can to help veganism. But like the original definition, it was like what's possible and what's practical, and that is going to be different for each person. And when I kind of read it, I just kind of thought, well, yes, if you can do more, you should do more. But I think once we start changing what it means to be a vegan, I think it's going to make it maybe less appealing, or it's going to make it harder for people to go vegan. And obviously that's the biggest thing we can do, is to try and get as many people to go vegan. That's the biggest thing we can do, because we can affect the supply and demand chain. And I find if we make it a little bit harder for people to go vegan, that might hurt the movement. So I was a bit like, I understand it, but then I'm worried that it might have a negative impact.
Have you guys followed the whole thing recently with Kalel?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
You have? What about you, Lee? Have you
Is that the one where she said that she was vegan and actually she's been vegetarian, and she feels that you can do a bit of both?
Consume, you can consume a certain amount. She didn't define it, but
no. Yeah, I watched the Vegan Gains video on that, so yeah.
Yeah, what that kind of suggested to me was that we already have very confused ideas about the definition itself. Like, even now, we don't really understand the definition. And I think employing this new one is even more confusing, because as yet another vegan, shout out to her, said in the chat, what is the definition of activism? By this definition, what all activities are included? Because we already have arguments between within veganism about what activism actually is. Some people would say that if you don't liberate animals, that's not activism. Some would say if you do stuff like, say, direct action everywhere, they would argue that's not activism because of how they just go in it, and people say that's not activism, it's just disruption. Some people say that sharing petitions online or doing it through law isn't activism. So my issue would be that if you keep adding things to this definition, there's going to be even more confusion with the definition itself.
Chick P. Sandy brought up a great point as well, to say, what if someone has severe depression and can't leave the house? I can relate to that. I've actually suffered in that situation, and that's what I say. That's where it comes in, because mental health, like I talked about, physical health, that all comes into play. But I always think when we're at our best, and we've got to be at our best, because at the end of the day, we can't help anybody until we help ourselves. When we get to that stage, we can at least do something, whether that's sharing your meals. That's as big a form as activism as anything. Doing recipes online, sharing things on your social media, anything at all. I say they're all form of activism, and they're all just as important as each other.
Yeah, Ronnie Lee, he was talking about this at the vegan camp out apparently, and we've temporarily lost Lee. He should be back in a moment, hopefully. He was talking about this at the camp out, but bearing in mind he is the founder of the ALF.
Yeah,
he is fixated on direct action, so coming from, I respect what he does, but coming from his position, in any case, if you have a certain position, sometimes that can stunt how you perceive things and how you acknowledge reality. And the reality is, you do have people who physically or mentally may be unable. You do have people who are too busy. If you are working 50-hour shifts and you have children, how are you even supposed to fit this into your day-to-day? And I would argue that some people, they don't want to be activists. Some people don't want to do Haley.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. Just to catch you up. We're just talking about, Ronnie Lee. He's the founder of the ALF. He's very much in direct action. He's involved in this. So it may impair his judgment on how other people will live their lives. Some people don't actually even want to be activists. Some people can't be because of their jobs. I know a few people who the reason they give money to people like Earthling Ed or even to me is because they have jobs that if they were out there and sharing stuff and it got to them somehow that they were doing that, it would impact their job. So there are many reasons why people might not be able to do it or not want to do it. I know what you want to do shouldn't stop us from changing definitions, but my concern is that it will repel people further. And I think people are already repelled by the idea. They think that they have to be involved in something big if they're going to be vegan. You have to be like some hippie, you have to be for the cause. Exactly. Some people just want to like conform or get on with their lives or not cause a fuss.
It's kind of like making it inclusive rather than exclusive. That's what we need to try and do. We need to try and make it receptive to everybody, so all walks of life, because it's about compassion for all, and that's important.
Exactly. And I understand his we do have to take into account his argument behind it. He notes that we're seeing a rise in animal product consumption, even though more people are going vegan than ever.
Yeah.
More people are consuming animals. You know, as places are getting more well off, they're employing more animal products. As the population is growing, you're getting more people, obviously, who are not vegan, who are consuming animal products. So there's kind of like a need for us to spread the message. But
that was in India, wasn't it? India and China. They're worried about the rise is happening more there.
Yeah, no. In China,
that's the biggest reason in China and India. The fast food, McDonald's and such like, so just flooded in there, and basically the rise in obesity has basically been because of that.
Yeah, you got about 2 billion worth of people just in those two countries, nearly, haven't you? So that's a big impact.
Yeah. No, in China they've got the high-rise pig factory farms.
Yeah, that's right.
So they've got like 5 stories of pigs in these like prisons essentially, and it's just to keep up with the demand of how many people are consuming. Because pork, I don't think, was big in China, but now it has become massive. And so we're seeing all these cultural shifts. Mod Vegan just brought out a video talking about how in Colombia she's noticed that more people are consuming animal products because the country itself is getting wealthier.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a concern, but I don't know why there's a need to combine activist and vegan in the definition itself.
One thing I would like to see in the definition is basically bringing in humans into it. Let's say we're own human, because at the end of the day we overlook things like world hunger. We overlook people. We all know that you get a lot of bad vegans out there just as well. Like they'll love to do everything for the animals, but eating their fellow man and woman. You know what I mean? So bringing that in, compassion for all, I think that's an important side of it as well, making it just a bit encompassing everything, really.
Yeah, that's when it gets difficult as well, though, because I was trying to talk to someone about, well, humans are animals, so surely we should be caring about humans. But then that would mean that if something wasn't fair trade, if something wasn't, if you couldn't tell what the workforce was like, would it then be vegan? So if you didn't know exactly where something was coming from and the conditions, and if the workers were happy, then how would it be vegan?
Mm-hmm.
That's when it gets quite confusing. And that's why I think simplifying it as much as possible and then kind of employing other things is probably the best bet. Because obviously, unfortunately, there are so many issues on this planet. There's plenty. There are so many things you could do to try and better it.
Yeah, another vegan brought up a great point. Says, I would be concerned that further regulation would either further exclusively vegan movement, or definition of activism would be so watered down that the activism would carry no meaning at all, which is absolutely a great point, actually.
Where did you see that? Sorry. Oh, yeah, with yet another vegan. Yeah. So how did people respond on your Facebook page? Because I know that's how I met Lee, and that I commented that I didn't agree and was quite concerned. But how did the general...
It was quite a mixed reaction. I see a lot of people obviously talking about we're overlooking world hunger, basically saying that it would make activism seem like watered down, just like we mentioned there. And a lot of people saying that it's making it even harder for people to go vegan, because it makes it look, it's hard enough as it is already, you know what I mean? So when you're adding another label to it, it's making veganism seem like you've got to be this 100% vegan, which me and Lee have spoke about quite a lot.
Yeah.
This issue that people are obviously saying you've got to do this, you're not a vegan unless you're 100% vegan, your animals are vegan, everything. So it would make it even harder. And that's why I put up the post, because I felt it was really important to get that discussion between all opinions for all different walks of the vegan movement.
Yeah, so carry on, sorry.
Yeah, I was just worried that it's one of those ones where it might cause more fighting within the vegan community, because there's so many arguments now about you aren't vegan if you do this, you're not vegan if you do that. And I feel like if we add this tier to it, where's it going to go there? You could have someone who's been vegan for 30 years and is now going to have someone who's been vegan for, say, 2 months, telling them they're not vegan anymore because, I don't know, they drive a car or they have palm or whatever they do, or they don't get out on the street and, you know, protest, they're not vegan anymore. And I think that causes a lot of argument where we're meant to be unified. And obviously people are looking out from the outside, like what we look like amongst ourselves. We can't even truly define what veganism is ourselves. So how are they meant to? And a lot of people are probably not going to just get involved because they think, well, I can't do it all. I can't be this perfect vegan. So what's the point in doing it?
Yeah, no, when you keep adding things to it, it almost saturates the meaning of the word.
Yeah,
and people don't use it. They either rebel against it. They create something new, and create a division.
You'll find as well, a lot of people change the definition to suit their own bias. So I had one person that said that you're not vegan if you have children, but he didn't want to have children and didn't have children. But then what are you going to do if you've already got children? You can't just give them up.
Easy for you to
say a vegan. Yeah, precisely. So it always seems to suit people's own bias, and you can keep going down the rabbit hole with it. That's the thing. You can keep going as far as you can. There's always someone you can do more, but we should just do what we can, again, what's possible and what's practical.
Yeah, it's kind of the issue that I get with obviously my animals, because my animals aren't vegan and they're not my animals, they're my companion animals. But it gets to the point where people say, oh, your dogs aren't vegan. But at the end of the day, looking at it from another perspective, if you've had the animals have been in your life before you were vegan, you know what I mean? It's a hard issue.
And then they'll use that to discredit what you're actually saying now, as if like, because you have pets, suddenly what you're saying means nothing. We shouldn't listen to what you have to say. I just think if we go down that route, it's going to give, I sound a bit weird saying carnists, but I think it's going to give carnists more reasons to have sort of hit back at us. I think it's going to give them more arguments for them to use against us to not go vegan.
Yeah, Annie says in the stream, I think this argument is just a distraction. Cut out animal products when and where you can and get on with it.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got this live chat.
Have you not?
No, I clicked on the video to the YouTube video and I can't see any of the chat. So
that's
I'm just
so strange. Okay, well, I'll give you the link in the moment. But James says we don't have a definition now that everyone agrees with, and we don't need one, don't want one. Vegans spend too much time defending the definition. I mean, the definition is very important, especially, say, when you go into a restaurant and you're like, I'm vegan. You don't want someone being confused and thinking that fish is not an animal. And so you don't want,
we need a baseline. That's the thing. We need a baseline that we can all agree upon. And then if you can do more and go further, go for it. But I don't think we should force that on others to be able to have that label. It's like people focus more on the label than the actual movement, or they make veganism more about themselves and about the animals. And I think that's part of the issue as well.
But yeah, that's why I think like the definition it's currently we have is good, because it's quite simple. I mean, that you can argue that possible and practicable are quite difficult words to truly understand, because what's possible to one may not be possible to another. But I think that just kind of takes into account the complexity of humanity. You're not going to get something that's just black and white. You're never going to. It's not going to. I mean, some things like, I mean, the unnecessary use, that in itself, who was doing a video, think about this, did a video, and he said that's kind of a silly term, the unnecessary use, because it's unnecessary to maybe tell your dog to sit. So is that then exploitation? You know, it's unnecessary to tell your dog, oh, do you want to go outside? Is that exploitation because you're making them do something that you may not have needed to do? So obviously in itself, as soon as you add words to things, those words will be challenged. But this is why I like the definition as it is personally, because I think it's quite to the point. There's not too much that we can argue over. And this is why adding things like Ronnie Lee, the vegan flag, are trying to do concerns me slightly, because then we're going to have, as you say, more to argue over. And it's not the route we want to take, as we want to be unifying. And we see a lot of battling it out. And what's that? There was an egg and onion sandwich sold in a wee shop where I lived, and it was labeled as vegan. Exactly. This is why definitions are important, because if I pick something up and I'm like, oh, this is vegan, and it has egg in it, That's not what I was wanting.
What about palm oil though? Because there's obviously a lot of products that are labeled vegan and have palm oil in. So I know a lot of people argue about that because that goes into the exploitation, doesn't it? So but then I've always wondered as well, like when does that line begin? Because obviously at some point palm oil is vegan in itself. The product itself comes from a plant.
Yeah.
But where does it go to a line where it exploits or damages the environment that much that it becomes vegan to not vegan? And how do we judge that?
So we've had this conversation in the vegan movement recently on vegan YouTube. And what it seems to be is that palm oil, if we were to boycott, it wouldn't really help as much as, say, you know, boycotting meat products and then replacing them with the vegan alternative, because then it would be replaced with something that, because the minute you monocrop, you are inevitably going to harm a lot of animals. It's just the nature, especially of things like oil themselves. I know with palm oil that there are methods in which you can reduce the harm. I don't think you need to burn the palm down. It's just like a quick way to release the oil. But because I think with a lot of these nuances that we have, so for example, with monocropping, I think these are things that in the future we would be able to deal with a lot better. So with things like veganic farming, maybe communal areas that employ what I was talking about on my channel a few days ago, this like idea of communal gardening and making your own crops where possible, and vertical farming and things of that nature. I think these things we will employ in future, but I think boycotting palm oil now would only replace it with something that would be equally as damaging. And palm oil in itself has a really high yield, so that's why it's used so much. So if we were to replace it, say, with like coconut oil, I don't think we would reduce the harm itself as we would if we replaced vegan meat with.
You just get things like rapeseed oil and everything. They've all got some sort of damage in them. Anyway, so
it's the issue with monocropping, and I think this is where technology and new methods will come in handy. I think we should be pushing for methods to change. We should be pushing for technology to improve so that we can find easier ways. And I think we should actually come out with some data that supports what people say. A lot of people talk about how many mice get decapitated through harvesting, but I'm not convinced that mice just sit there and wait for a combine harvester to chop them up. So I would want to know the true impact before investing my concern in it. Obviously there's going to be an impact, but I want to know what the alternative can be before boycotting it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you have palm oil, or do you not, like, you avoid it if you can?
Palm oil's in everything. If I see it, then I may think about it, but I don't generally avoid it. If this is an alternative and it doesn't have oil, because I'm trying to go oil free to begin with. I'd prefer, like, what the answer seems to be is, if we're concerned with stuff like that, we do probably need to be eating whole foods. But then you get into things like almonds. You get into things like avocados, like it's really difficult to draw the line. So I look at it and I think, oh, but I'm not convinced yet of where the line should be drawn. So I think
would you promote a vegan diet or a whole foods plant-based diet?
I mean, because I don't eat whole food plant-based, and I've never committed to it. I would rather promote that, but I don't live it. But I do promote people like, you know, Michael Greger, Neil Bernard. I think, you know, less is more. You know, if you can use less ingredients and you can make something out of it that's healthier and has less impact, then that's better. But
it's a healthy balance, basically. That's what I would always promote.
Yeah, so I promote it. I want people to be healthy. My health is not my concern. It should be, but yeah.
It's a powerful motivator, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
for a lot of people is going vegan for the health. And then, I mean, I know people refer to them as plant-based, but if it just gets them there, they can then move towards, because obviously when I first went, I went for health reasons. And so you could say I went plant-based first. And then watching Earthlings, it then became, I went vegan. But it gets you through the door to open yourself up to more. So it's a good way of getting people in, I think. the health
What
argument.
did you go vegan for again, Tommy?
Originally, I went vegan for health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So
you went
obviously,
vegan for health, and
yeah,
and
so
Tommy, what did Tommy go vegan for? Tommy?
I went vegan for the animals right away.
Oh, for the ethics. Okay. Yeah, no, I see your story. Yeah, I see Lee's story quite a lot though. That you go, you become like a health food vegan, and then so like even people who are quite like, I think, hench herbivore. He started as a health food vegan.
Yeah.
Now he's stuck in the ethics, you know.
Yeah.
But I've been having this conversation on my channel recently that because we're seeing a lot of people who went vegan for health leave it, and so you do need to get the ethics and remind people why.
Well, that's exactly why I was actually talking about this definition. That's what I said. That's what I wanted to get the kind of discussion about, because I feel that a lot of people that do go for like the health reasons probably don't stick to it in the long run. So you've got to in some way have some kind of moral ethics. You know what I mean?
It depends what your motivator is, though, isn't it? I mean, if your health is the most important thing, you'll stay there. But I do think it's important to educate people on all three of them. You know, the ethical side and the environmental side, because I don't think you can make a single change in your life that has such a big impact. And the more you can educate someone, each person has their own motivation. What will inspire them to? Because we've got to get people to go vegan, but the hard thing is to get them to stay vegan. So we've got to find that true motivation for someone, whether it's their health, they love the environment, or they love animals. We've got to find that in each person, and I think that's why it's good to come from different angles.
So when you, sorry, go Tommy.
It's kind of like me and Lee have actually spoken about before. We live in a society that's all about themselves, you know what I mean? We're all body conscious, we all want to be the best, and I think that's what veganism can inspire a lot of people to be, because they want to be the best they possibly can. They want to be the best body you possibly can. So that comes into it as well, you know what I mean? Sadly enough, it is a lot about us as well.
I think one thing is important about a movement is kind of understanding the norm and what makes people tick, essentially. But I say, like, I was going to ask Lee. So you're a personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm sure you personal train them into like vegan diets. Is that what you do? Like,
it's one of those ones. As a personal trainer, a lot of people don't realize it. You cannot actually give nutritional advice. Like, you cannot give detailed diets. You can advise what healthy eating is and sort of promote them in the direction where they want to go, but you cannot actually give written diet plans unless you're a nutritionist.
Okay.
So when I normally talk to people about like health and what sort of, because obviously diet is the other equation, I always promote plant-based, like whole foods plant-based, because that's, in my opinion, the best one for your health. So that is normally what I promote, and I then go into the reasons why, and it's down to them whether they're going to do it or not. But the problem is within fitness and that, we've sort of been so brainwashed that cultural indoctrination. It's that idea of you've got to eat meat to be a man, you've got to eat meat to build muscle, and the whole idea that plants aren't complete protein. But it's still on people's minds, and it's really, really hard to change that unless you're a doctor. They don't always take you seriously, or they think you're just a vegan, like, propaganda. So it can be quite hard to do that, but that's normally what I promote when I talk to people about it.
Okay, that's interesting. No, it's just with the health side, because I was talking about how that's important because people care about their health, and the truth is people have misconceptions about, you know, as you were just saying, about vegan diet and what you need to eat. I think, you know, that's important, and considering the, you know, some of the #1 killers are diet related, and you can kind of track that back to the consumption of animal products. I think that's really important because, you know, in caring about humans, we should really be caring about their health, especially when they aren't even aware. Like, my position is people can be unhealthy as long as they are fully aware, they have like agency over it. So like, I know exactly what's in this burger and I know why it's bad for me, but I make the choice. But so many people don't know what's in their food. Like, they don't know about like eggs. There's literally nothing good in an egg. And like,
I think it's one of those ones as well. I think I did like a series on like different justifications people use not to go vegan, and for a lot of people, they will use health as their reason to justify what they're doing. So they'll be like, you know, you need meat to survive, or you need B12, you can't get it in plants, you can only get it from meat and animal products and stuff like that. I think if we educate people on health, you're taking away that sort of leg in which they can sort of stand on, or what justifies them doing what they're doing. So a lot of people actually think you need meat, and we're designed to eat meat. But if you can kind of explain to them that no, you shouldn't be eating meat, it's bad for your health, and that's why you shouldn't be doing it, I think that will help a lot of people to think, okay, if we're not designed to do it, it's actually making us sick, it's making us ill. They'll then may go plant-based, but it's helping the vegan movement. So yeah,
I feel like there's a confused distinction between the two as it is. So vegan and plant-based people struggle to understand that. Yeah, if you're plant-based and you're not eating animals, that's great. But if you're consuming products that came at the expense of an animal, say you're wearing fur or you're wearing something that's animal tested, that's not vegan, because if
or honey as well, as well.
Exactly. So if you just look at the animal products, avoiding them where possible and practicable, even then people call themselves vegan when they are just not consuming these things through their mouths. But so I feel like with this, I'm so confused by it, because we already are so confused. Within the movement, we already have so many people trying to change it, and I just don't think it needs to be changed. I think we need to understand the debates within the words themselves currently. But I feel like people just adding stuff, as you were talking earlier about, they're adding things that suit them. It's easy for someone like Ronnie Lee, who's involved in the the direct action. This is his life. This is what he does. It's easy for him to be like, yeah, you should get involved. If you don't really get involved, like, what are you doing? But for someone who works 50 hours a week, they just don't want to consume animal products because they think it's wrong. They would love to see the future be vegan, but they do want to be vegan and tell their friends, I'm vegan now. They have their own.
It's trendy though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they have their own little impact. But to say that then they're not vegan, or they're not doing anything when they're just at work, they just don't want to harm animals, they tell their friends about vegan, they bring vegan pesto pasta into work and tell their friends, I couldn't then say that those people aren't vegan.
Exactly, because it's kind of like that knock-on effect. They're probably bringing in that pasta to their work. It's maybe unwittingly inspiring their work colleagues. They're going vegan. It's that knock-on effect. So that's just as much activism as anything, in my opinion.
Exactly. And I feel like, as much as, I'm not happy with society and the way it is, blah, 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 I don't think that we could just suddenly change society. Like, if we're taking on so much where we kind of just want to change society itself and not understand how it works, I think we're biting off way more than we can chew. I think we do have to understand how the society works and play the game. And then, within it, change certain things along the way. But we're looking for to stop the exploitation of animals. And who does that? Society as a whole does it. Like, we've got to change those norms. And I understand that, like, if people are active, we can change that way. But how are you going to get people to join your movement if they think it's completely a social justice and that you have to do these things plus more things in order to be part of it? I don't know if it makes it less inviting.
I was going to ask you, how would you go about, I don't know if you've ever stumbled across this and you've been doing like vegan advocacy and such likes, but you're talking to somebody in the street and they don't give a shit about the animals, they don't give a shit about their health either. They just turn around to you and say, I'm going to die. At the end of the day, I don't care. I'm going to enjoy my life while I am. And if that's eating animals, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
How would you go about that? Because I've seen this quite a few times recently. And
I'd say regardless of them caring, it doesn't matter. Like, I could care less if I wanted to, and then just kill them. So there's got to be something in place that protects their rights. And if they have that, but they won't grant that to somebody else, then that's inconsistent. So even if they don't care, there is going to be something that they care about. And if they don't care about feelings and lives of others, they maybe care about consistency and their own life. So if they care about their own life, really, then you've just got to appeal to the safety of their life. and which would be jeopardized just as easily as these animals were in a hypothetical situation.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is I really believe that even if they approach you in the first place, when they say something like that, just for them to actually approach you in the first place actually shows that there's some moral compass there, there's something in their conscience that they're actually thinking of something. So, you know what I mean? It's a bit of
a... They're just making it up, probably. They probably care. Like, people say some ridiculous things in a moment where they haven't actually had to think about something, and they think about it for the first time. They just spout some nonsense that they don't even agree with. Because
some people just like to troll, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's fun to hate on a vegan or to take the piss out of them. So some people just troll, unfortunately. But
yeah,
what can you do?
We've seen. I'm sure you've seen many a troll.
Yeah.
So let's just address the chat for a second.
Oh yeah, I still haven't got this chat. I've literally seen any of it.
So why don't you just refresh the page, maybe? Is that
because
maybe...
all I've got is the Google Hangouts, and I'm worried if I refresh.
Oh yeah, don't refresh that. Right, hang on. Let me give this to you. Okay, this should be.
Goji Man in the house.
Goji Man, say hello. How are you, Goji Man? I just did a video that was inspired by you, Goji Man. I don't know if you've seen it. So yet another vegan, and we got OG Mizzen in here. Hello. Nicholas says they give a shit about their self-concept. They have to be able to see that they are not the good guy. In that case, eating animals unnecessarily is hypocrisy. Exactly. If they want to be protected, even if people don't care about them, there's got to be something that is valued in order to sustain their existence. They wouldn't want their life taken away without justification. So we have to apply that to others in order to keep ourselves safe. So yeah, even if they say they don't care, even if they truly do not care, there's still some way you can get them to understand. I know a lot of people who really don't care about animals. They don't really care that much.
Well,
but they're vegan.
Example, James Aspie even always said that when he went vegan, he just didn't like animals at all. You know what I mean? So it shows you that it's something in his mind, even though he wasn't caring about the animals. He did get that down the line.
Exactly, and I just it's just something that bothers me about this. I think, I mean, this is how humans work, I suppose. They constantly want to insert, because we do stuff and we think things, and constantly what we personally believe is what we believe to be right. And surely if we employ this throughout our life, we believe that to be the right thing to do. So, you know, like being vegan or being Christian, or being, you know, whatever, we believe this to be the truth. We believe this to be what we possibly want the world to look like. We are essentially an embodiment of how we wish to see the world. So constantly people will get labels and try to insert themselves into them, because that's kind of how they want to see the world. But I think we should leave the definition quite simple. I think we should always be challenging it, and I think this is an example of what's happening. But I'm challenging it back and saying I don't like this at all. I don't think that it will work. I think definitely vegans should be activists if it's possible to do so, but I don't think we should put it in the actual definition. And I think if we really want to, I think they need to actually explain how they define activism, because I can bet you that a lot of the people who I've seen employ this definition have a really rigid view of what activism is. They don't think it's online stuff. They don't think it's law stuff. They think it's a lot of the time liberation, which I'm telling you, it's hard to do. Not that I'd know, but it's hard to do. It's not something that everybody can do. Essentially,
a lot of people as well that's vegan don't actually want to be called vegan as well. So
I know a lot of people reject the label; they don't want it, but there should still,
in my opinion. But
whether you identify with it or not, if you fit the definition itself, it does in a sense belong to you, but you can still reject it by any means. Like absolutely. But we still need that kind of baseline understanding of where people fit, I think. Or maybe not. OG Mizza was just talking about labels and how they're
spoken about a lot recently about this self-projection, obviously putting labels on ourselves so we can actually pull us back into ourselves, really. You know what I mean?
Understanding, yeah. I mean, for me, with labels themselves, I'm just not sure what the alternative would be. Say if we rejected all labels, I don't know how the world, maybe this is me limiting my judgment, but I don't know how the world would then look if we didn't have an understanding of labels or categories. Because throughout history, like think of the beginning of existence. To understand what a rock is, you've got to understand what a rock isn't. You know, to understand what blue is, you've got to understand what blue isn't. You've got to understand then what red is, and through that you understand what green is. And
differentiation.
Yeah, you think in the binary of this is and this isn't. So this is this and this isn't this, and that's how you would then build up your understanding of the world. And I think through childhood, that's what you do as well. Like as a child, I don't remember being a child. But how did I understand everything that I've come to understand? All the words I'm speaking, all the comprehension, it must have begun with an understanding of what is and what isn't. So I think maybe I need to be challenged on this, but I don't know what a world without labels would look like, or what a world with saturated labels would look like. I mean, I would argue even now we have a world of saturated labels where people are just putting them on themselves. Like, Kalel, I'm vegan. No, you're not. So I struggle to understand what the world would look like without these labels. So
the only kind of thing that I did disagree with Tim Sheaf was talking about was when he's saying labels about eating disorders and such like as well.
Oh yeah, I was wondering what your opinion was on that, because he said, you know, some people, what did he say?
He basically said that some we're all just a little bit imbalanced, and at the end of the day, we shouldn't put labels on each other. If the eating disorders, he says, at the end of the day, we should all just have a laugh about it, support each other, and at the end of the day, we all might just get out alive.
I mean, nobody gets out alive, that's the thing. But no,
you don't get out with an eating disorder, because clearly he doesn't actually see that he has an eating disorder. He's got these eating disorder behaviours. He's actually admitted that he's actually had these problems all his life, and now he's trying to be as open and honest as he possibly can be by actually showing himself at his most frailest. But he really needs to get help, and I say he's a lovely, lovely guy, and I think the world of him. I love everything he's done, but he really, really is ill, and he can't really see it.
That's why I wanted to know your perspective, because obviously you've gone through this, and you've because you've got like qualifications surrounding eating disorders as well, don't you? Like mental health or stuff. What is it that you have?
I'm actually an eating disorder coach, and I've spoken at Scottish Parliament quite a few times in Eating Disorder Awareness Week. So yeah, I've had 20 years of experience in eating disorder myself, so I know what I'm talking about in that respect, this thing. But it's an absolute shame. It really, really is. He really needs to get help, because he's just going downhill quickly, and it's going to be a rapid thing, because he's getting into this mindset that he needs to, and his exact words was, you need to overshoot to get to your best health. So he's actually saying that he needs to lose as much weight as he possibly can to he gets to see what his body's real health optimum is, which is a skewed perception, because why could you possibly be healthy when you're at death's door? But I just don't know how it's going to turn out. But
Goji Man says he's vegetable police in the making. A lot of people are saying that they're worried that he won't be vegan anymore, because he's like, yeah, well, health is the most important thing. And obviously he brought out the video saying, you know, like there's no point pretending that I'm well, and you know, that to defend the vegan message. But I'm not even sure what's wrong with him.
Well, the problem with Tim Sheaf really is, in the main issue, that he doesn't really see that. He seems to think that it's normal for, as he calls normal people, just to put their fingers down their throat to regurgitate their food if they feel a bit full. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't know any person out with an eating disorder that would do that.
Yeah, no, I've never, like, because I'm lucky enough never to have had, I mean, I do kind of like almost binge, maybe, like that it's bad. I think if you saw how much I can eat in like 1 hour, and I think you'd be like, Ellie, you should be concerned. But apart from that, like, I've been lucky enough not to have a bad relationship with food, and I would never think, oh, I've eaten so much, like I should probably just throw up. Like if you start thinking like that, because he was saying, oh, that's what we do. Like, you know, I used to do it to stop myself getting hungover. It's just what did he say? It's like a bodily tool.
Yeah, it's a bodily tool. That's what he's basically saying. But basically, a lot of people can have genetics of an eating disorder, but you'll never really develop a full-blown eating disorder unless you get into calorie deficit. And what actually happens with the exercise and such, like, it's actually been proven it's a migration response. So back in when we were cavemen, say, we used to obviously migrate to find food. This is what the body actually does. So you keep exercising, and that's the kind of issue that goes on.
Yeah, I am kind of concerned for him, I must say. But again, like I'm making a video right now, and I tried to add loads of different topics. And I said that I think Tim, because I relate to how he responds to criticism. He doesn't like being told what to do. I think he has kind of like a difficulty with authority, and I do as well. And it's not like edgy, like, oh yeah, the police, yeah. No, it's like a genuine, like, I can't have people telling me what to do. It like annoys me. Like, and I think maybe that in our responses, like, I don't know if you're going to make a response or anything, that we should just
actually,
yeah, I think just taking into account, I think he wants to be a free spirit. He wants to experiment. You know, he's just putting out, he says, you know, he's just putting out his truth and his, like, his story. But unfortunately, like, there is a responsibility in a sense, because people are very impressionable. You see, like, constantly, as soon as like vegetable police stopped being vegan, loads of people came out with these, oh, vegetable police inspired me, and I you know, you can see him doing badly, and so we do affect our environment in whatever way we do. We do have to be mindful of that. And
he's got a huge following, isn't he?
He does, yeah.
He's got a big impressionable following, and he's actually advocating for most of the things that he's saying, though he's trying to contradict himself, saying that he wasn't advocating for fasting and obviously throwing up, but he has been. He really has. I don't know. I think his mind is that starved that he just doesn't know what he's saying there.
Yeah, he has the same gut problems as vegetable police, but he rejects mainstream science in helping him, which is like a problem. Like, that's the thing. Like, because I think he is still flat Earth and stuff like that. I suppose you will have I think when you get into stuff like flat Earth and stuff like that, it tells you something about the society has been starved, and of trust, of faith, of like an understanding that it's safe. Because if you start questioning all these things and start believing that you've been lied to, and that, you know, over and over again, all these things we've been lied to, people are paying people off. Yeah, and this is the problem with veganism. You know, it can be a stepping stone, but you can't help that. You know, if you've been lied to about something, which we have, you know, the humane way to kill an animal, that you need this meat, it's all lies. So I think people go further with it and start thinking that the society is not safe, that it's lied to them, and I think this is the aftermath you see of people you know, rejecting science, rejecting help, rejecting basic understanding that we have, and thinking that you can't trust it. So how do you help them?
Well, he always says he's a scientist of himself. He's scientific with his body and everything around his earthly being, basically. So
I don't know. It's just concerning. We can't help but be concerned, and I don't think that this should be seen as a bad thing to show concern for him.
Well, that's why I really liked the role with Finn, because he got an awful lot of abuse, obviously, for when he stopped being vegan, but he really tried to help himself, and he's a guy that really does care about the animals. He really does.
You know, I did a response video to him, and that's how, like, he and I got in contact, and that's why I think it's important to have like a healthy discussion. Like he didn't respond badly to, because I don't know if you saw the Chris and my response to him.
Yeah, did you?
All right, but yeah, so I think this is why, you know, reaching out, and especially someone like you know, you've got the experience with the eating disorder, you've got the coaching as well. Like, you know, you understand this way more than, like, I wouldn't dare properly speak about it because I don't know, like, how could I talk? But like, so like, Lee, do you in your personal training, do you have experiences with people of this nature who have struggled with like eating disorders?
No, it's not something I've had a lot of experience with at all. So, but I mean, I didn't follow the Tim Shreve thing. I saw a few Vegan Gains video going after him, and I think the issue is obviously if he's promoting that to people, it could lead to other people having health issues. But other than that, I didn't follow it. I wasn't a big fan of him, to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah, this is what I think. This is, I don't know, this is my speculation, but I think with like people like Freely Enduring Rider, they had a really massive impression on people, the whole Raw Till 4 thing. And then recently I've seen loads of people go, why I'm no longer vegan. And they were like, oh, I was inspired by gurus and I followed like Raw Till 4. And it's just like, I know exactly who you were inspired by. And they do it badly and then they leave. And then they blame the fact that they did it badly on the entire movement.
Yeah, they say veganism was too hard. It's not, you can't stick to it. It's impossible. So don't bother trying. And yeah, it's not, doesn't help.
And they confuse the definition with like the diet. And again, like complete confusion of what veganism actually is. Like there was a lady recently, I did a video based on her, where she was saying that veganism was a fad diet. She added it in all these lists. It's like you're not understanding what it truly is.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm concerned about adding more. But yeah, were you going to say something, Tofu?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's a kind of backlash sometimes you get when people have to give up veganism, obviously because of health reasons, like people with eating disorders, because especially in an eating disorder setting, you usually get admitted to a psychiatric unit. So when you get admitted in there, they won't advocate you be vegan. We've actually got a group, actually, when I'm about to say this, it's one of my friends, Helen Gillespie. She's actually been admitted into mental health unit at the moment under the psychiatric thing. So basically what we're trying to advocate for is actually to get a vegan supplement, like a Bulldog drink. So we've got a group we're starting. We're actually trying to get that rolled out into Parliament so we can actually have human rights for obviously vegans that are admitted to these kind of settings.
Wow.
It should be great. It should be great if we do it. We've got a few lawyers actually helping us as well, so it looks as if it will definitely go ahead.
That's amazing news. What have you going to make a video on that? Like that seems kind of big.
At some point, yeah, definitely. But it's garnering a lot of steam. So if anybody ever wants to join the group, just let me know and we can add you in there, because the more people that we can get making videos on it, the better.
Yeah, no, I would be down for doing that, or adding a thing. I've got a lot of videos to make tomorrow, so yeah, no, that's amazing. Wow. But no, so I think we should maybe talk final thoughts about the definition itself, what we think, and then kind of address some of the comments, and then dolly off, because I know you guys have to go at some point. So let's begin with you, Lee. What do you think ultimately about this definition? And do you think it should change? Do you think it should stay? And do you have any concerns about it coming into play?
In my opinion, I think it should just stay the way it is. I think, like we mentioned before, it's a good baseline. It's simple. I think a lot of people can understand it, and I feel that the most important thing is
He's left off. He keeps cutting out. Oh no, he's gone. All right, okay. It'll come back in a second. Tommy, what about you?
Well, basically, like I said before, I think it's just making it a lot harder. But at the end of the day, there's got to be some kind of moral ethics in there. But at the end of the day, we want to make it as inclusive as we possibly can to people. Probably doing this is obviously going to make it a lot harder and turn people away, which we don't want.
Yeah. No, I'm of the same. I think that adding stuff to it will make it more complex. we're already trying to understand. Like, obviously, if we're trying to understand something, maybe it does need to change. But I don't know if this is the route that it needs to take. I think it's already kind of complex, and we're trying to understand everything, and adding more may make it more complex. Lee, you left halfway through your statement. Do you remember where you were?
No, I have no idea where I was. What was the last thing you heard?
That basically that you don't think we need to change it.
No, I don't think we should change it. I think we should leave it as it is. I think the vegan movement is growing. I do think it's going in the right direction. Yeah. And I think it's just it's human nature. We try and find a thing of least resistance. I think if we try and make it harder to go vegan, it's going to hurt the movement. I think infighting within the vegan community, I think, is a big problem. I think if we add this on top of that, it's going to make it even harder. So I can understand. I think do as much as you can. What's possible and what's practical. That's going to be different between each person, but do what you can. But I don't think we should make that universally what is labelled as vegan, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, what do you mean infighting's bad? It's brilliant. Let everything burn to the ground. I think that's a brilliant idea. No,
it's good if it's amicable.
Destroy the entire movement. Do it. Like,
agree to
smash it down. Agree to disagree. No, flammable. Oh my god. Oh, there's so many memes that can be memed from this. Hit that like hammer till it lays eggs. If my like button lays eggs, I don't think it's vegan, I'm afraid, guys. So please do not like it up too much. Right, let's have a look at some of these comments. If you've got anything to say to Lee or Tommy, let it be known and we will address these comments. And as well, Lee, if you could put another comment in the chat as well as Tommy. I want all of you to be subscribing to these peeps if you haven't already. This is how we support each other. Okay, this is love. What this is right now, this live stream is like a cyber hug, and we're coming together, giving each other love.
Oh no, like called tree huggers, surely.
Tree huggers. I'm trying to ruin this movement. Okay, either that or we're collectively withholding from Flem in this relationship. What relationship was going on? Oh yeah, no one's hitting that like button. No. I'm very upset, guys. Nobody's hitting that like button today. Goji Man's giving us the thumbs up.
I don't even think I have. I've liked it now.
Disgraceful. The shame. Unsub from Lee immediately. That's disgusting. I can't.
I've liked now. It's all right.
Okay, we're fine. You can resub to Lee. Yet another vegan said, I had really bad anxiety when I first went vegan, and that had to be admitted. They told me that as far as diet, that vegan and vegetarian were the same thing, and constantly doused my food in meat gravy. What? Lovely. Oh, delicious. See, like even now, not understanding. We're not understanding the definition. We want to confuse it further. Let's have a look.
I think even like professionals don't really understand it either, and obviously people look to their doctors and their nutritionists, and even they don't fully understand it, or even the science behind veganism either. So no wonder.
Well, I know. Saying that, apparently Wetherspoons don't understand what vegan means, because last we were at an EV Cube that I'm an organizer with. One of our organizers, Renee, she actually had went up to get the chickpea curry and the naan bread, and she said to them, she says, is the naan bread definitely vegan? And he looked at her and he was kind of looked confused, and he goes, are you vegan for health or are you vegan for the animals? And she says, I don't see why that would be an issue. She says, I'm vegan for the animals, but, and he says, oh, well, in that case, it's vegan.
What?
She just goes like that. She says, you know what to do? Just effing keep that. She says, I'm walking out. She says, you're lucky I'm not going to report you to your manager. So, I mean, it's kind of, really? But it makes you think, if she'd have probably said she was vegan for health reasons, he would have known that she maybe have an allergy or something like that. So then he would have went away and asked. But clearly when she said that she was vegan for the animals, he just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like they don't take it seriously, do they? If it's for health, it's fine. But like ethics don't seem to matter too much to people.
No, because then it's too much. You're being picky. Yeah. I'm vegan for none of these reasons. I'm just vegan to be the soy boy that I am meant to be.
Chocolate soya.
It's nearly gone. I'm so upset. So, right, let's have a look. My doctor said, keep doing what you're doing because it works. I said, you need to do it because I need to do what I'm doing because it works. Oh, you're schooling your doctor. Let's have a look. Cyber hug me now. People are wanting cyber hugs. OG Mizzen is cucking out to me.
I think they said that, don't they? That a lot of your general GPs and that, they don't actually get a lot of education on nutrition, do they?
No,
I think they get very, very minimal. Yeah, it's very, very minimal. And I think a lot of it, they said they look in the nutrition when it rolls around with children, but you probably know more about nutrition than probably your doctor does.
That's concerning, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, people are going to listen to their doctors if they say you need to drink your milk for your strong bones. People are going to listen to them as sort of a silent authority. And if you're then promoting stuff on Facebook saying, you know, the more milk you have, like the more likely you'll get osteoporosis, they'll just think it's vegan propaganda, and it's not true. So it's kind of an upward battle, really, for a lot of that.
It's prime example, Lee, when you're saying that, is like my wife. My wife suffered, as you know, she suffered with cancer for quite a few years. She originally was vegetarian all her life because she actually saw a stag getting beheaded when she was about 3 years old.
Oh.
Right up until she had cancer, she got admitted to the hospital with iron deficiency. They put her on to dairy and obviously red meat. She's went one opposite end of the scale to the other, and it's now that she's just actually getting back to actually try to be as much vegetarian as she possibly can. But that's the kind of issues you're dealing with. You're suffering with ovarian cancer. They're giving you meat promoting cancer things that are known to, like IGF-1, to actually promote cancer growths. So what you're fighting against, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so let's have a look in the chat. Vegetable Police thinks, oh my god, I'm not even reading now. Some of these comments. You know, we're not, yeah, okay. I think the problem with Vegetable Police and Tim is that many is that they can't be told the truth and they have to learn it. But that will come at great expense to veganism long term. Yeah, if you feel the truth as Tim does, you've got to go through bad experiences. I mean, I don't know where you would draw the line then. So you would have to, this mushroom is poisonous. I don't believe it. I'm going to have to eat it and die and then see. But no,
That's what the Venus flytrap does, doesn't it? It doesn't know what it's consuming, so it just consumes anything, and so can consume things that kills itself. So that's logic.
Tim Sheaf is a Venus flytrap confirmed. Tofu Tommy, 2018. Right. So Michelle is having a happy time because you're in the chat, Tommy. Change your lifestyle, not the definition. Ooh, I like that, Annie.
Definitely.
Change your lifestyle, not the definition. Take some responsibility. I like that. I'm about that. Zoe said, I love the idea to help vegans struggling with EDs. Lots of people, unfortunately, with them quit being vegan because of the restrictive nature. Another very important topic. Yeah, and that's one that like I don't touch. You know, if someone, and that's the thing, like some people, I don't know if they almost make up that they had a problem because then they know people won't stray on that path of telling them because they're scared. Because there was this one lady, she was talking about how she had a weird relationship with food, but then the way she would explain it, it was like she had a few fraudulent slips that was just like, oh yeah, I couldn't really be bothered. So it's like, it's a really sensitive topic. So I think when people like you talk about it, it's really good. But I know that you spoke a while ago about how you don't want to talk about it too much because then you because you're an empath, you kind of end up embodying it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that thing. It's like you can only consume so much and then it ends up entrapping you, because eating disorders are very much like that. You end up talking about it and it becomes basically your identity. So to create a new identity, you've got to step outside that eating disorder. But I would like to probably do another stream talking about things, because I've done one with Tabitha Farrar, which is a great one on my channel. If you check that one out, she's a eating disorder specialist. She's a former recovery eating disorder recovery. So
she's the one who was talking about veganism being bad because it was like another restriction.
She was actually vegan at one point, but she done it before a restriction reasons. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So Vohan said, I worked at a place and every day the chef would offer me eggs and every day I would tell him I'm vegan. If it was not eggs, it was milk. Think he might have been a bit thick though. Maybe. Leon says some health vegans don't give a damn about the animals too. Luckily, most also become ethical vegans. Yeah, I think this is the important thing. Like there are many reasons to go vegan. That's why you're going to get many different people. And I think that's the best way you're going to get people to change. But at the end of the day, who's most important in this equation? It's the victims. Who's the victims? The animals. So you need to, at the same time, bring in the ethical component. Whatever the reason may be, remind them of the victims. Because in this equation, you've got trillions of victims I think anyone could say that is the most important thing, though it may not be the most important way to get people to go vegan, because a lot of people don't really care. I think it's the most important component, because that's the reason in the first place. But
what would your stance be on like advocating for abolitionism? I've sometimes believe that's probably the worst thing that we can do, because we should always be basically advocating for people to obviously make big changes, and with the end goal of being vegan, obviously down the road being fully vegan. But I think abolitionism sometimes can actually shove them further away.
Yeah, no, I think the thing is, I think you should employ the idea that you should know your audience at any given moment. And I think this is why it's quite important to be versatile and have an understanding of all the different reasons. Yeah. Know who you're talking to, know your audience. If they are someone who's driven by a lot of people are driven by what the right thing to do is. If you know that person cares about what's right, they don't like seeing people harmed or others harmed, then appeal to that. The thing is with veganism, it encompasses so many things. So there's so many reasons you can give to someone to be vegan, but you do have to appeal to their perspective in order to get through to them.
Basically meet them where they are, really.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I see health as an important component in getting people to go vegan. But I think at the end of the day, the victim is the most important in this equation. That's kind of the whole reason for being vegan. Though other people may add reasons to it, I think that's the most pressing issue, considering all the pain and suffering and and then we've got the environmental stuff. But yeah, I think just informing each other and in keeping your community in the loop, trying to make it inclusive, and then because a lot of people who go vegan might be like, oh, I don't want to do that, don't want to participate in that. But down the line, they might become kind of weak, have a moment of weakness, and they might not know about then the environmental impacts. And that may be the thing that makes them truly consider, oh, wait, should I actually eat this piece of beef that I'm feeling weak over?
Yeah, that's been a big part of our Ayrshire Animal Save with the video that we actually released a few weeks ago. There's a lot of people went vegan off the bat of that because of the damage it's been doing to the beach and
the beach. Yeah, I need to do a video on that. But for people who don't know, can you explain what's happened?
Yeah, well, basically what happened is the slaughterhouse have actually been basically washing out their bins, what they're calling Cat 2 byproducts. Basically, it's like all the bits of the pigs that's basically not deemed suitable for human consumption, basically. So it basically goes into things like, obviously, your jelly babies and stuff like that. So what they've actually been doing, they've been washing it out. They've actually said that this is an isolated case. It's been washed out into the beach. And SEPA, who is actually the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, they've been out, tested the waters. But they're actually saying that they've contacted the slaughterhouse and they've actually said to them, look, this can't happen again. If it does, you will be severely reprimanded. But what they're actually saying is that the levels in the water are actually between normal regulation rules, so they basically got away with it at this point. But what they've actually done is they've actually put a massive rock on top of the actual park where the water was actually, the pipe was actually draining out the pig's blood and such. So it's covered up at this moment in time. They're saying that they're regularly checking the waters weekly. We just need to keep on top of it and see if it obviously what happens for there. But it's a big impact.
Yeah, Hypercoda is saying that having kids is very taxing on the environment and blah, blah, blah. Therefore, it's not vegan at all. But under that justification, there are so many things that I'm sure that even you do yourself that then wouldn't be vegan. I think this is the point of this entire conversation we're having. We're tightening it further and further, and excluding more and more people from the movement, which I don't think is very productive at all. I think under your justification, your explanation, so many other things wouldn't be vegan that are vegan. Obviously, we need to have these conversations, but
the thing is, I think if you can have a population or a generation of vegans, the best people that are going to promote that are people that have parents that are vegan. So in a way, you could be helping the movement by having children and raising them vegan. But obviously, they say that if your kids don't become vegan, whatever animals that they kill and eat and everything like that is your responsibility and that's your fault. But I don't know.
I think if you don't have the people who are going to be the vegans of the future are the children.
Yeah.
So I don't. I'm not.
Also,
I don't know.
it also brings up the moral dilemma. Do you actually bring up your child vegan, or do you let them come to that conclusion themselves once they're old enough to make the responsible choice? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if they're living in my house, yeah.
No, with hypochondria you could adopt, and I'm planning, if I have children, probably to adopt for biological reasons, because it's quite difficult for me just to have children the normal way. But I think as well we do have a population problem, so maybe we should be more mindful about that. There is a massive population problem. I think the population, I'd follow Population Matters. People as well have discussed that there is room for more people and that there isn't an overpopulation problem. There's just a problem with, say, for example, with veganism, how we have very unsustainable methods of feeding people, very unsustainable methods of land usage. Some people argue that if, say, the world went vegan tomorrow, that we would have room for the population we have and more.
Well, they also say that if you give all the feed that you give to animal agriculture, you could feed world hunger. You could end it.
I mean, that's not taking into account how capitalism works. But
no.
I mean, hypothetically speaking, I suppose you could. It wouldn't, but you could, hypothetically speaking,
16 kilograms of plants to make 1 kilogram of beef. So
but Zoe says there are kids suffering homes, so the poor foster parents can eat meat. No, it's just I understand that there are a lot of kids in homes that could do with who need them, and it could do with good homes. So I think maybe we should, be adopting more and fostering rather than maybe having children. I think that's from the perspective of the children already waiting for loving parents. I think that's something that we should be doing instead. I'd love to foster in future, like have 50 people who see me as one of their mums. Yeah. But there's plenty of room for people if there was a redistribution of resources. There we go. Not to mention that your offspring will cause intentional and unintentional harms in others throughout their lifetime, which can be prevented by not reproducing. But then how far do we take that? Like, we unintentionally harm people. So what do we do with ourselves? What do we do with our, friends? I don't know.
Well, what's the end result as well? Extinction. I don't understand.
I mean, that's a whole different discussion. I don't want to go down this well again, but there has been discussion of ethylism and antinatalism. I've already been in these. I've already been in that for. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. So antinatalism discussions, ethylist discussions, banned. No, I just. I have some opinions about it, but it's a massive topic. But I would say in itself, it does beg the question in its very beginnings. I would look at to people like OG Mizzen to have that discussion. He has a very a good piece on that. Yeah. But I think anyone has final closing statements about the actual topic. That would be really good. And then we can probably close this off because you're going to have to go in like 5 minutes, aren't you? Or 15 minutes?
Yeah. So
we're pushing it a bit. These guys have actually got lives. Can you believe it? I can't. Higher intelligence. More people talk about children. Has anyone got anything to say about the actual topic? The actual topic? No. Because we went off on a tangent. That was kind of our fault. We're to blame, guys. should be ashamed. But
Boom2 says, do a video on antinatalism, Flemface.
Definitely not. I the community that I talk to the people who are within the community, but I wouldn't want it kind of coming onto my channel in itself. But I've already had some discussions, and I have changed my perspective on it through learning about it, but I don't want to do a video about it. It depresses me. I know my boundaries. I know my personal. I just.
You know the Hannah Sarah. The Hannah Sarah. Do you know the Hannah Sarah? She was on the Vegan Life magazine about vegan parenting and things like that, with a wee baby and that. So that's the key thing. It was to get that out there.
Yeah, no, we talk about it on my server. If you really want to have discussions about it and find out my perspective, you can come in there and talk about it. But I need to be in a mindset to talk about that. Like, you know, some things in life you just can't talk about. And that's one of those things that just gets me like in a bad place. So I have to be in a good place to talk about it. So the new definition is undefined and should be adopted just on that grounds. And shouldn't be adopted. Yeah, no, it needs to be defined like the word, like, you know, within the activism. Like, what is the activism? What do they, like, going back to the definition itself, it includes a moral duty to actively oppose animal exploitation by encouraging and educating others to become vegan. Like, how do we go about, like, how do they define even doing that? Like, what is their idea of opposition? And by opposition, I imagine they mean activism. What do they mean by that? Perhaps they just need to add a bit more on the ethics of vegan in the definition. I'm pretty sure they already do, though, because it's about the exploitation. You're avoiding the exploitation of animals. And that's what separates it from plant-based. Like, plant-based is the diet. It's like these are already, I think, laid out for us. We just don't consider them enough, because it does already deploy the ethics itself. I don't know how much more it would need to deploy, or what words we would need to add in order to make that clearer, but it is about the exploitation.
Well, that's what a lot of people were saying in the comment section in my post. They were saying that we should obviously be adopting that to the humans as well, because the human exploitation and things that obviously should be all be like fair trade and such likes, because there's a lot of slave trade and things like that as well. So we should be looking at that side of things. You could go on forever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Another passionate vegan. Yeah, no, I've already had these discussions. I know what you mean, but I don't want to talk about that any further. The people who say definition needs to be changed are misunderstanding it on purpose, in my opinion. It's not hard. I know, exactly. I feel like it wasn't clear enough for Kalel. Therefore, guys, we have a problem. No, look, guys, 1 tablespoon of dairy is definitely vegan. I mean, so could 2, so could 3. We don't know where we draw the line, but it's still vegan, apparently. Oh, my God. I don't even want to go back there. But yeah, no, so we better cut this off because it's going into other conversations. So if you do not already subscribe to Lee or Tofu Tommy, then please do. Their links are below in the description. You can check them out further. Lee does personal training, talks about health. Tofu Tommy talks about basically everything, my dude. You're a busy man. Yeah, no, if you want to discuss any things that are in the actual chat, you feel like things have been unanswered, then just look in the link below in the description. You can go into my Discord and we can talk about stuff further. Thank you very much, Chickpea Sani, for subbing to, I'm assuming, Lee.
Thank you.
Lee. You're going to be famous now. And for the people who may be seeing this on your channels, because you may be adding like these streams to your channel, if you don't know me, I'm the Flemface. I do daft things. I don't even know. I should have.
We heard it right here. Tofu cubes.
Yeah, no, I just provide the vegan content that people are deficient in. I'm doing God's work, essentially. That's but yeah, okay, so thank you very much for joining. I hope this has been a discussion that's been valuable to yeah, please subscribe. Thank you ever so much for coming. I do hope you're well. Until next time, we'll see you soon, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.